Welcome back to ABCGH Spoilers. Today, we uncover the intricate web of secrets, betrayals, and emotional turmoil sweeping through Port Charles. Tensions are at an all-time high, with relationships tested, past wounds reopened, and new alliances forged in the shadows. As we delve into these gripping developments, one question remains: will the truth come to light, or will deception rule the day? Let's find out. Ava Jerome's forbidden romance, a dangerous gamble. In the dimly lit confines of Ava Jerome's lavish new apartment, a confrontation brews, thick with tension and uncertainty. Ava stands before Rick Lansing, her dark eyes searching his face for reassurance. "Do you not want anybody to know about us?" she asks, her voice a careful balance between accusation and vulnerability. Rick's hesitation is brief but telling. As a lawyer, he understands the disastrous consequences of their entanglement. If anyone discovers that he, the man representing her against Sonny Corinthos in a bitter custody battle, is also her secret lover, it could jeopardize everything. Ava is no stranger to navigating perilous situations, but this one is different. The stakes involve her daughter, Avery, a child she would fight to the ends of the earth to protect. But their relationship is more than just a professional nightmare, it's a test of loyalty and control. Ava, a woman who has spent her life surviving betrayals, is unwilling to be anyone's secret. Rick, caught between desire and duty, knows that exposure could ruin them both. The secrecy only makes their affair more intoxicating, but as whispers grow louder and suspicious eyes linger, one wrong move could bring their world crashing down. Will they risk everything for passion, or will their forbidden romance be their undoing? Molly Lansing Davis' emotional breakdown, a mystery unfolds. Elsewhere in Port Charles, emotions explode like a powder keg as Molly Lansing Davis storms into an unfamiliar office, her face streaked with tears. Her voice, raw with anguish, echoes through the space, "This is all your fault." The air is thick with tension. Who stands before her, bearing the weight of her accusation? Could it be a legal adversary, someone at the courthouse who has derailed her plans, or someone closer, someone she trusted? Her grief and anger suggest a personal betrayal, one that cuts deep enough to shatter her composure. Another possibility looms: she may be at the hospital, standing face to face with the source of her pain. Has she uncovered a devastating secret about her ex, TJ Ashford? Or is this about someone else, perhaps an unexpected revelation that has thrown her world into chaos? Tears don't come easily to Molly. She is a woman of strength, intellect, and composure. Yet here she is, breaking apart, her fury mixed with sorrow. Whoever she's confronting, they hold a piece of the truth she desperately needs, one that could either set her free or leave her drowning in regret. Christina Corinthos Davis' growing concern, a puzzle pieces together. Meanwhile, Christina Corinthos Davis sits across from her mother, Alexis Davis, the weight of concern pressing heavily on her. "If I wasn't worried before, I am now," she admits, her brows furrowed. The topic of discussion? None other than Sonny Corinthos. His recent trip to California for a cardiology consultation has left his daughter uneasy. She doesn't have all the details. Her father is a man of secrets, but she senses something is off. And now, a new name has surfaced in her orbit: Isaiah Gannon. The connection between Isaiah and Sonny remains a mystery, but Christina is piecing together clues. Is Isaiah someone from Sonny's past, a ghost re-emerging at a critical moment? Or does he hold information Christina isn't supposed to know? As she grapples with her growing unease, another issue tugs at her mind: Danny Morgan. She was there when Danny confronted Cyrus Renaud, and it left an impression. Could her concern for her young relative be tied to something larger? Something she can't quite grasp yet. Christina has always had an instinct for when things are amiss. This time, the feeling is stronger than ever. But will she uncover the truth before it's too late? Sonny Corinthos and Jason Morgan, a fateful reunion. Back in Port Charles, Sonny Corinthos has barely set foot in town before an inevitable meeting takes place, his reunion with Jason Morgan. Jason, having just returned from Baden-Baden, where he spent time with Michael Corinthos, quickly reassures his longtime ally. "I've got your back, no matter what," he says, his words firm. But Sonny's response isn't immediate. He exhales, his gaze heavy with unspoken thoughts. Something's gotta give. The weight of his words lingers. Is he speaking about his health? His empire? Or is something more sinister at play? Sonny has survived betrayals, assassination attempts, and power struggles that would break lesser men. Yet, this time, there's a different energy, a quiet storm gathering just beyond the horizon. Jason, ever the observer, knows there's more to this than meets the eye. He also has news of his own. His recent dealings with Sasha Corbin will undoubtedly come up, but will that be overshadowed by the much larger threats looming over them? One thing is clear, in the dangerous world Sonny and Jason inhabit, nothing stays quiet for long. Detective Chase's investigation, uncomfortable questions arise. At General Hospital, Detective Harrison Chase is on a mission. With Cyrus Renault making accusations against Jason Morgan, Chase finds himself questioning Elizabeth Weber. "Were you close enough to see Jason threaten Cyrus?" The question makes Elizabeth uneasy. She saw the confrontation, yes. But she also knows Jason far too well to believe he was acting recklessly. More importantly, Jason was protecting his son, Danny Morgan. That fact alone complicates everything. As if that weren't enough, Jason is also the father of her own son, Jake Weber. This isn't just another investigation, it's personal. For Chase, the case is a tightrope walk. His instincts as a detective tell him to follow the facts, but the deeper he digs, the more entangled the truth becomes. Will he be able to remain impartial, or will he find himself caught in a web of loyalties he never anticipated? Anna Devane's tough call, a battle of authority and loyalty. At the center of the storm, Anna Devane faces her own challenge, one that forces her to take a hard stance against someone she respects, Dante Falconeri. Dante, despite her direct orders, refuses to step back from the case. His proximity to the investigation is a problem, and Anna knows it. "If you want a job to come back to, leave now," she tells him, her voice laced with authority. Dante hesitates. He understands the risk, but walking away feels like abandoning his duty. He believes he can be objective, but Anna sees the reality he refuses to acknowledge. His emotions are clouding his judgment. The tension between them is palpable. Anna is making the right call, but Dante isn't ready to hear it. As the battle between duty and emotion rages on, one thing is certain, the case is far from over, and the consequences of their decisions will reverberate throughout Port Charles. Final thoughts, the future of Port Charles hangs in the balance. With secrets unraveling, betrayals unfolding, and tensions at an all-time high, the future of Port Charles remains uncertain. Will Ava and Rick's affair be exposed? Can Sonny and Jason maintain control in a shifting landscape? Will Christina uncover the truth about her father? And what price will Molly, Chase, and Anna pay for the choices they make? Next, we dive into the intense drama unfolding in Port Charles, where danger lurks around every corner, secrets are exposed, and old wounds threaten to resurface. With tensions escalating, alliances shifting, and vendettas brewing, one question remains: who will emerge unscathed, and who will fall victim to the ever-growing web of deception? Let's unravel the latest mysteries together. A familiar melody and a watchful enemy, Elizabeth and Lucky's moment interrupted. As the doors to Charlie's pub closed for the night, Elizabeth Weber lingered, watching Lucky Spencer wipe down the bar. The quiet hum of the jukebox filled the air, but when an all-too-familiar tune drifted through the room, an eerie chill ran down her spine. Lucky, startled, turned toward the sound. "I didn't put that on," he said, his voice tinged with unease. Yet, in that moment, an old connection between them sparked to life. The song carried memories of past dances, stolen moments, and an unbreakable history. Lucky extended a hand, a small smile playing at his lips. "Might as well finish what we started." And just like that, they swayed together in the dimly lit bar, the world outside momentarily forgotten. But they weren't alone. Outside, standing just beyond the window, a shadowed figure observed them with a piercing gaze. It was Cyrus Renaud, his expression unreadable, though the dangerous glint in his eyes told a chilling story. His presence wasn't just a coincidence, Cyrus had been listening. Earlier that evening, he had overheard Rick Lansing discussing the details of his parole with Elizabeth, and he knew she was onto him. With each passing day, his list of enemies grew, but now, Elizabeth might be the next name at the top of that list. Jocelyn Jack's in the hot seat, Anna Devane's tough tactics. Before the events at Charlie's, Jocelyn Jacks found herself on the wrong side of the law. Detective Harrison Chase had no choice but to bring her in after her reckless decision to investigate Cyrus Renaud on her own. With Cyrus' landlord identifying Joss as the person poking around, Chase was left with little room for discretion. But it wasn't just Chase who was concerned, Anna Devane was furious. When Joss was hauled into the interrogation room, Anna wasted no time playing hardball. She slammed a file down on the table, her piercing gaze locked onto Joss. "You're putting yourself in danger," she said, her voice like steel. "Do you have any idea who you're dealing with?" Jocelyn, though stubborn, wasn't naive. She knew Cyrus was dangerous, but she couldn't ignore the fact that too many people had suffered because of him. Dex's death haunted her, and now with new suspicions surrounding Sam's death, she couldn't just sit back and do nothing. But Anna wasn't going to let Joss become another casualty. With no other way to drive the point home, she had to make a move that would shake Joss to her core, arresting her for criminal trespassing. The handcuffs clicked into place, but the real question remained, would Joss finally understand the stakes, or would her relentless pursuit of the truth put her in Cyrus' crosshairs for good? A showdown at Charlie's, Jason Morgan's warning to Cyrus. Earlier that evening, Charlie's pub was anything but quiet. The tension inside the bar was palpable as Cyrus Renaud found himself face to face with the son of one of his biggest adversaries, Danny Morgan. Danny wasn't one to back down, and his confrontation with Cyrus was bold, reckless even. His fists clenched as he stood his ground, demanding answers about what had happened to Sam. But before things could escalate further, a familiar and formidable presence entered the room, Jason Morgan. Jason wasted no time. His voice was calm, but the underlying threat was unmistakable. "Stay away from my son," he warned, stepping protectively between Danny and Cyrus. The weight of his words carried years of history, of vendettas that never truly died. The altercation didn't go unnoticed. The entire bar was on edge, including Trina Robinson, who had her own personal reasons for hating Cyrus. Just the sight of him was enough to stir up painful memories of what he had done to her family. She wasn't the only one unsettled. Kai, sensing the growing hostility, took it upon himself to approach Cyrus, standing tall as he suggested the criminal leave before things got out of hand. But Cyrus, as always, was unfazed. If anything, the reactions he provoked seemed to amuse him. Still, he knew one thing, people were on to him. And the more eyes that stayed on him, the less room he had to maneuver in the shadows. A web of suspicions, who will be Cyrus' next target? As the night unraveled, it became clear that Cyrus' enemies weren't just growing in numbers, they were becoming bolder. First, Jocelyn confronted him over Dex's death. Then, Danny challenged him about Sam. Now, Elizabeth was dangerously close to uncovering secrets she wasn't meant to know. Each of these individuals had their own reasons for wanting justice, but the question remained, who would pay the price for pushing too far? Cyrus was a man who thrived in the dark, moving the chess pieces of Port Charles without ever dirtying his own hands. He didn't need brute force when manipulation and calculated threats worked just as well. But the more people tested him, the more likely it became that someone would become his next victim. Elizabeth, unaware of the eyes watching her, had already painted a target on her back. And with Cyrus standing outside Charlie's, his gaze locked onto her through the window, one thing was clear, she was in more danger than she realized. What happens next? The fight for justice continues. With each passing day, the tension in Port Charles escalates. Jason has put Cyrus on notice, but will it be enough? Jocelyn's determination may have landed her in hot water, but has she truly learned her lesson? And with Lucky and Elizabeth sharing an intimate moment, has she unknowingly stepped into the path of a ruthless enemy? One thing is certain, Cyrus Renaud isn't done yet. His patience is wearing thin, and when he finally decides to strike, no one will see it coming. Will Port Charles's most dangerous villain claim another victim, or will his enemies take him down first? Next, we dive into the intense events unfolding in Port Charles, where secrets, vengeance, and justice collide. From shocking confrontations to unexpected arrests, tensions are higher than ever. Let's unravel the drama and see what happens next. A fight for justice, Jocelyn's dangerous gamble inside the Port Charles Police Department. Jocelyn Jacks sat in the interrogation room, her expression a mix of defiance and frustration. Across from her, Detective Harrison Chase took a measured breath, knowing this conversation wouldn't be easy. Anna Devane stood nearby, arms crossed, her steely gaze fixed on Joss. "We hear you've been getting cozy with Cyrus Renaud at the mission," Anna stated flatly, her voice edged with both concern and irritation. Joss raised an eyebrow, but said nothing. "This game you're playing," Anna continued, leaning forward, "is dangerous. It could cost you your life." Chase sighed and slid a folder across the table. "Trespassing. Fraud. Those are just the beginning. We know you snuck into his apartment, and by now, his landlord has probably told him about your little visit." Joss folded her arms. "So what? Are you going to arrest me for caring about what happened to Dex?" Anna exhaled sharply. "No, we're arresting you to stop you from making a fatal mistake." For a moment, silence hung in the air, heavy with unspoken warnings. "Should I call Diane?" Joss asked, her voice calmer than she felt. Anna gave her a sharp nod. "Yes. You should." Outside the room, tensions escalated as Martin Gray stormed into the station, his usual calm demeanor replaced with barely controlled fury. "I want to file a complaint," he snapped at Anna. "Jason Morgan threatened to kill my brother in a public restaurant, and I am tired of you covering for him." Anna narrowed her eyes, but remained silent. "For all I know," Martin continued, voice rising, "if my brother ends up dead, you'll be Jason's accomplice." His words hung in the air like an accusation yet to be proven. Back in the interrogation room, Chase tried reasoning with Joss. "I get it. You want justice for Dex. So do I." His voice softened. "But you know Dex wouldn't want you putting yourself in danger like this. Let the PCPD do its job. If Cyrus is guilty, we'll get him." Joss swallowed hard, her mind a whirlwind of emotions. Could she trust them? Christina's past and present, a look at family ties at the other end of Port Charles. Christina Corinthos Davis sat at the bar with Isaiah Gannon, sipping her drink as she reflected on the past. "You and Lucky's dads used to run a club together?" Isaiah asked curiously. Christina nodded, smiling slightly. "Yeah. Luke Spencer and my dad, Sonny, were an unexpected duo, but somehow, they made it work." Isaiah raised an eyebrow. And now you own Charlie's? Christina's smile faded a little. I didn't expect to. I was just the manager at first, but after I lost my daughter, my dad figured I needed something to focus on. Something to keep me grounded. Isaiah nodded, sensing the weight of those words. Sounds like he knew what he was doing. Christina let out a small chuckle. For once. A growing threat, Lucky and Elizabeth's warning. Meanwhile, at the bar, Elizabeth Weber was lost in thought, her fingers tracing the rim of her glass. I still can't believe Danny confronted Cyrus, she murmured, shaking her head. Lucky Spencer, sitting beside her, leaned forward. The real question is, how does he even know about Cyrus? Someone must have told him. Elizabeth sighed, glancing toward the entrance as if expecting trouble to walk through the door at any moment. Too many people are onto Cyrus now. It's going to make nailing him even harder. Lucky nodded. And if he knows the walls are closing in, he might skip town before we can pin anything on him. Elizabeth looked at him, her expression troubled. Then we need to act fast. We should take everything we have to Anna, before it's too late. Lucky agreed, but a nagging feeling settled in his gut. If Cyrus was desperate, he wouldn't just run. He'd fight back. Charlie's pub turns into a battleground. Back at Charlie's, chaos erupted when Danny Morgan stood face to face with the man he despised most, Cyrus Renault. Jason Morgan had barely stepped inside when he saw his son standing in front of Cyrus, fists clenched. You killed my mom. Danny shouted, his voice raw with fury. Cyrus smirked, his cold eyes gleaming with amusement. That's quite an accusation, he drawled, unfazed. Jason didn't waste a second. He grabbed Danny by the arm and yanked him back. Touch my son again, Jason growled, and they'll never find your body. The room fell into stunned silence. Kai, watching from across the bar, turned to Trina Robinson, Gio, and Emma. That was insane, he muttered. Trina, still shaken, crossed her arms. Cyrus is dangerous. He held my mom and me hostage. He shot my dad. And now he's messing with Danny? It never ends. Kai didn't hesitate. He strode up to Cyrus, his expression hard. I think you should go. Before Cyrus could respond, Martin Gray grabbed his brother's arm. Let's not make a scene, he said, pulling him toward the door. As Cyrus was let out, Trina turned to Kai. Thank you, she said sincerely. Kai nodded. Anytime. But while some were still reeling from the confrontation, others were distracted. Emma Scorpio Drake, clearly frustrated, tried steering the conversation in another direction. Can we get back to talking about animal cruelty? She asked, eager to focus on something less stressful. Gio, however, wasn't having it. Emma, read the room, he said, pulling her aside. Trina's upset, and you're making this about your event. Emma rolled her eyes. I was trying to distract her. Clearly, she doesn't want to relive that trauma. Gio frowned, realizing his mistake. I'm sorry. I didn't get that. Emma smirked. You can make it up to me by helping me hand out flyers. Gio sighed but nodded. Fine.